Jay, I came across something today that really shocked me. According to federal law, it's going to be implemented in the month of May that homeowners that have a credit score of 680 or higher will see an increase in their mortgage fees. What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, I heard the same thing. I think that it has to be a lot more put into that. It's not just the fact that homeowners would see that. It's talk that A is supposed to be something that the president is put in place. So it's a lot that's going to come behind that if everything actually happens the way it's talking about. So what's the political ramifications of that? But then the credit space, political ramifications. I don't know because I'm not a politician. I hate politics. It's my responsibility to know enough so that I can function and, more importantly, be an effective leader of my house and my company and my as a parent, things of that nature. But I can't stand politics. I don't really know, but it's going to be interesting to see. I think that from the coming from a have-not space, I think that there's going to be a lot of people. I think Biden will shake up the country with this, especially if it goes through. So I don't know if that's political suicide for him. I don't know if it's actual suicide. I don't know what it is, but I don't see it just being something that just goes over and everybody bouncing off the wall about. I think there'll be some loopholes that they'll put in place that'll still make sure that people get what they need to get. But then let's get to the credit portion of it. People might think that I'm crazy, but I'm not against it. I'm totally not against it. I am an individual that until the last 4 or 5 years didn't have a clue about how to use credit. I hated everything about it. I hated the thought of it, what it represented in my community and the people that I saw. I literally hated it because I've been around individuals who use that even against me. Like, hey, I got good credit, you don't, and have and I've asked for what do you need to do. They always made it seem like it was this unattainable thing unless I went through them, to learn or get it. They made it seem like it was something that was so unattainable. And the world, as well as, this country, as well as individuals, would use that and hold it over individuals' head. Their brothers, their sisters, their kids, everybody. And I've seen this directly. It was always used as a tool of separation. They're better than you. They're not. And I fell for it because I used to be on cats that used to be on me because, like, I would achieve things in my life without credit. But I didn't know I was hurting myself. I didn't know that I could have got to where I needed to get to 10 times faster, 10 times easier without the bumps and the bruises that I had along the way if I would have had credit. But I can be negative and say, this is what these people wanted. They wanted me to go through it. They probably didn't want me to attain things at all. But I choose to go positive and say, I didn't know what I didn't know. And now that I do know, what I'm saying, I made better decisions in that space, and I've been able to effectively use it properly, but I still have the same mindset as that I can win without it. And there's a lot of people that where I come from and that I've encountered over my life who are still in that space, who've been able to live very good lives without 700 credit. But if you go back to the 70s, watching one of our favorite shows, Good Times, when Daddy James said, how can a computer tell you the measure of a man? Because there's a lot of people that pay their bills on time. And I got to give props to my grandmother, Dot Washington, who paid all her bills on the first of the month far back as I can remember. And she don't have 700 credit. Never did. Never will, being 80-something years old at this point in her life. But she should have automatically been grandfathered into having 700 credit, having whatever she needed. I watched her go to the check cashing place and pay every stinking bill on time on the first. And I'm sure my grandmother was the only one It's people who pay their bills. This is why they have switched over to people can use their rent as a gauge for you to get better credit scores, because for years people was paying their rent on time, and that wasn't being factored in unless they defaulted on their rent. Light bills, things of that nature, cell phone bills. None of that stuff was being factored in unless they defaulted. And the everyday person, their phone's not being turned off. Their household always got their light and their water and their heat and everything like that. They paid their rent. But I know in my community, a lot of us aren't nothing unless we own a house. That's what the other people is telling us. I've been told that to my face. I'm not nothing, but if I rented a place on my own, paid my own bills, it wasn't celebrated until I bought a house. And you know the sad part about it, when I finally did, those people weren't even around. So there wasn't no celebration. And I realized it didn't matter. It was what they pushed on me. And a lot of them used the credit. And in our community, a lot of people, I know people who got 700 credit. And they don't use it. But to tout over their head to say, over other people's head who don't have it. So I want to see what happens when they got to pay more money. Like I used to have to pay, even though I was always paying my bills. And other people, like my grandmother, had to pay more money because she didn't have 700 credit, but she always paid her bills. And somebody else's mother, and somebody else's father, and somebody else's brother, who are solid human beings, who pay their bills on time, take care of their families, but a score has dictated whether or not they can have the so-called American dream. Your integrity is your integrity. If you don't owe nobody rent, if you don't owe nobody your light bill, you pay your car payment on time, or you bought a car cash, buying a car outright is more better than you having to have a car payment. It took me a long time for me to get a car payment, because I got around individuals who made me feel like I wasn't doing anything if I didn't have a car payment. So that has been used as a tool. It has some positive situations, a lot of positives. But in my community, it has been a tool of separation. And it has been a situation where individuals who had it, the so-called haves, have held it over the so-called have-nots' head. And they put a barrier to getting it. And the barrier was information. Prior to going to Google, prior to going to YouTube, they put a barrier into the information. They would not give you the information so that you can have better credit, so that you can have opportunity. But I've seen some of these individuals who fell back and now they don't have good credit and their life ain't worth nothing. And it could be, but in their mind, they're not at that space where they can tout that over nobody's head anymore. And they don't know how to function by just being a good human being and by just dealing with what you got in front of you. You always had to have more than what you actually worked for, more than what you actually earned, in order for you to sit there and act like you're better than everybody else. I am literally so grateful in my lifetime. I look over, me and my wife didn't have to pay for our wedding 10 years, keep paying for our wedding 10 years, or our honeymoon, or a trip that we took, or vacations, or things of that nature. We didn't have to keep paying for anything we did. It was over and done with when we paid for it. We're not still paying for it later, because I learned that way. So I want the world, I want to see what the world looks like on the other side. I'm interested. A lot of people are not going to like it, but I really want to see what the world looks like on the other side, where the people that's in that space, because too much is given, much is required. So if you have the opportunity to go, because you got a 7-something credit score and you can go get $2 million for free that you haven't earned, you should be able to pay more. You're getting free money. That other person with 500 credit score earned everything they got because they damn sure wasn't giving them nothing. And they deserve way more than you. Because if they accomplished having a house at 600, 620 credit, and they paid all their bills, and they got a car, and they did all that other stuff. That means they paid all the high interest rates. They paid the bills. They did everything they were supposed to do. They deserve to get a break. And I'll leave it with this. What I've learned about credit since I've got good credit now, because this is not somebody who's talking from a space who don't have good credit. I own multiple things now. So it's not bitter. And thank you to my friend, Sister Deetra Matthews, who as a friend, she didn't tell me how to use credit. She just talked to me as a friend about credit over 5 years ago. And I learned. It's not the first person who became a friend of mine who had excellent credit. But this is the first person who talked to me about it. Take it how you want to take that. I always give props. But what I've learned about credit is it's a game. It's totally a game. That if you're not interested in playing that game, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. And it's set up for certain people to win. It's not like, oh, I'm going to pick you, and I'm going to pick you to lose, pick you to win. It's not that. It's a mindset. You have to be that type of person to have that mindset to really fully commit to playing that credit game so that you can actually win in that game. If you just want to have a good life, pay your bills and move on, and you think that credit is going to come in and benefit you, you're not that person for that. You have to be the person that has a mind for that situation and really play that game, really fully commit to it in order to actually see the benefits of it. And if you're not that person, just continue living your life. You're going to have to use credit for some things. You want to buy a house, you have to use credit for it. You want to get a car and, something that you can't afford, by all means, you know what I'm saying? Like outright, not just can't afford, but outright. You're going to have to need credit for that. Some other situations, you might have to use it to help your kids go to school, all that other stuff. It's not bad. I'm not saying nothing bad about credit. But what wasn't told to me, it wasn't told to a lot of people that look like me, a lot of people that said have nots at a time, they weren't told about the game. They weren't told about the commitment, the dedication that has to be put forth in order for you to be a person to get 700 credit score. It is a different ball game. It's not you just pay your bills. That's not how that works. It is a real system in play. And no, I'm not about to tell you to email me so I can tell you how the system. No, I don't sell credit. That's not what I'm doing. And you shouldn't sell it to nobody. Somebody asks you, you should tell them. But it's not you just paying your bills, because my grandmother will have it, and millions of other people that come from where we come from will have amazing credit if it all was because they paid their bills on time. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the world looks like on the other side. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other. I'm cool. I just can't wait to see it, because our people, because even though I'm not a have-not, I still speak for them. And our people need a real shot. And this can be one of them. I'm looking forward to seeing it.